And I was listing out things that people are not going to pay for. And I think it was like people selling purpose, happiness, alignment, like vague shit. Vague shit, right? Like, oh, if you want to know, like, discover your purpose. Like what? There is literally nothing that I can materially stand behind that vague offer. You know what? People are actually smart. They are able to spend money on what they want, and they're not gonna buy into vagueness. Purpose, like I can Google that. If I can Google the solution, and how do I find my purpose? Oh, YouTube video. There. I can find that in 5 seconds. Why would I be paying for that?
I can basically watch it. So Mel Robbins is there, for crying out loud. Tony Robbins is there. Thousands of their videos. I can watch my motivational videos on YouTube and get me productive and get me motivational throughout the day. But what are you actually offering me? Even if your media buyer is not that good, but if you have these free, you sure are going to succeed. You sure are going to see some results.
Welcome everybody. You are listening to the Omnichannel Podcast, a podcast from digital marketers to digital marketers. I'm your host Dominique Legrand, and my mission is to help fellow marketers and entrepreneurs to grow their businesses online. So buckle up and let's get started. Today I'm so super happy to have Carl with me, a Facebook ad expert, a fellow Facebook ads expert. And then this is a special episode because, you know, usually I do interview styles on my show, but I really wanted to bring some kind of a value content exchange, like a bit of a round table around the topic. And I think Carl was the best candidate for that. So I was messaging him and I was like, hey, dude, can we talk something Facebook ads? Because that's what I do. That's what you do. And like, can we meet in the middle? And he said yes. 2 days later, here we go. Hello, Carl. How are you?
I'm doing fine. I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you. I was just telling Carl, like, oh, is it Friday or is it Saturday? I think it's just so incredible that when you are working from home, you literally don't know which day it is anymore.
Yeah. And if you're literally like, you're in the zone of what you're doing, you're definitely going to miss time. Like, I know that famous guy or legendary guy who didn't know what time it is, what day it is, or he doesn't really keep track. He take away the clock out of his room and he just work. And it doesn't matter if it's day or night, as long as the work is not finished, I'm not done here. So I don't care what day it is, what time it is.
I think you're talking about Einstein, no? Or, you know, that...
I don't know if it's Einstein or more like... I don't know. I'll make a research.
Pretty much everyone who likes to like immerse into their work and they forget about time. You know, when you are in flow and it's just like time is like non-existent anymore.
I think that's the proper term. Like,
yeah, I think it's like flow state, right? That's it. Yeah. So for today, we have a super interesting topic for you guys, and I think the reason why we chose this topic is that we want to help coaches, consultants on the online community out there and just like pinpoint some of the biggest mistakes that we see in the industry of Facebook ads that they make in order for them to just like, first of all, shed some lights to those mistakes. And then hopefully by helping them resolve them, connect their revenue, right? So that's our conversation for today. And essentially, in today's conversation, what I wanted to chat with you, Carl, is what are the 3 crucial mistakes that we see coaches, consultants make in the Facebook ads industry that will likely, you know, cause them not to succeed with their campaigns. And the first mistake that we are going to talk about is the audience, right? And the target audience. What do you think about the target audience, Carl?
Well, to give a little bit of context, and thank you for making that intro, and to give a context, you know, the digital marketing space is an evolutionary space. Like when you do Facebook ads, Instagram ads, TikTok ads, even email and sort of stuff, these all are evolving over time, right? They're all evolving like we have discovered we encountered iOS 14 with Facebook ads. But if you nail these three elements, these three crucial elements that you mark in your marketing, even if they tag out, even if your campaign is not, even if your media buyer is not that good, but if you have these three, you sure are going to succeed. You sure are going to see some results in the way because you have these three crucial steps. Yeah. So number one is the target audience. Like so many people, I see mistakes with all the people that I'm talking to in Facebook groups and when I do some audits. I see a lot of them making the mistake of they think they know their audience, but they actually don't. I'm not quite sure why that is because maybe they think they've gone through this same scenario before, or they're trying to position themselves as they know the solution because they've encountered it themselves, and they're giving out the solution for their audience. So if you don't know your audience intimately, like some of the course creators or coaches are talking about demographics, male, female, they nail it out, right? Like these are the audiences. They even have an avatar for it, right? And it's laying out all of the essentials that they think they need in order for them to craft a better message, craft a better offer, something like that. I have a client right now who's making a market research, and she's talking about how she can help burnout moms, and her positioning is these self-care mini snacks in the morning that they should do, and that's actually the full product itself, right? But when I try to dive in and really understand what's happening in the market, what's the main problem that people are screaming on top of their lungs, I try to check them on TikTok, try to check them on Instagram Reels. They actually mentioned that they are pouring water in the cup, but their cup is almost like a strainer. So the problem there was not really these parents are they're focusing on the chores, they're focusing on everybody else, but the problem is the whole themselves. So now we've had a clarity of who the target audience is, what are their pain points, and what's actually keeping them at night. So in order to do this for me is I look at other forums, like for example, when I want to watch a movie, I don't rely too much on Rotten Tomatoes because they will give us flat on some good movies that I enjoyed, and they're giving 100% on the movies that I didn't enjoy, right? But when I try to check on the YouTube comments, right, you will see a lot of people in there. For example, I'm going to watch this movie, Encanto, right? I'm going to watch Encanto. Is this a good movie or not, right? I'm going to go to YouTube comments of the trailer, and people there literally are typing in how awesome the movie is, or if it's too bad, if it's going to waste your time or not. So in that perspective, you have to understand intimately, and you have to know them intimately what they actually do, what they actually want. So many people, so many coaching programs and courses think they know their market, they know their target audience, but they don't, right? So that's one of the key ideas that I have in my mind. What's your thought?
First of all, I love that you've given us the context, because I do agree with you that without knowing them that intimately, it's going to be really hard to effectively find and target them with Facebook ads. Of course, the foundational research is not something that you can skip. And the more, intimately, the more deeper you dig in, the better you get. And just like you said, Carl, like going into those forums, the comments and all of those, information are so necessary to have that raw feedback from people, the actual thought, because a lot of the times clients like to make assumptions about a problem, right? Like even I think maybe, your clients are also guilty of this, that they think they know what the problem is, but in fact, it's something that runs much deeper. And I can give you a very quick example. Like one of my clients, right? She is a relationship coach, and she thought that the main problem was that the couples were in a roommate type of relationship. And that was the main issue. That was just, no intimacy and all of that. But the root cause of that is that they felt unheard, unappreciated, and all of those led to a certain outcome, right? So sometimes we look at a problem, we say, okay, that's the problem. And only when we start researching, looking into deep, is when we realize that no, the problem of this is because of that. And that's just a symptom that we see on the top. So I love that you pointed it out as well. When it comes to forums, do you have like a go-to way to, or a go-to place where you always go to conduct these researches? Like, what's your strategy for that?
Well, there are a lot of things, of course. You guys have heard it too much, answerthepublic.com, Quora, Reddit. But right now, I focus on these main channels where people are always hanging out. TikTok. TikTok used to be just for young people, but right now it's really penetrating the whole market. Like, I see a lot of middle-aged people, right? They're really going into it, right? Now, if you go to TikTok or Facebook groups and YouTube comments, in YouTube, you can see there, you can just type in anything that is related to your topic, and you can actually just click on some people or some influencer who's really talking about that topic that you're also serving, and then you can go to comments, and then you would see them, you would like almost hear them screaming on top of their lungs what they're actually what their actual problem is, right? They're gonna share. They're sharing these, these one time. I love my kids. I love them to death, but if I can just have 7 days of free time for myself, like that would be really ideal. But you have these moments, and you can start looking at them, and you can start knowing what are the terms that they share. Like, do they consider themselves as, for example, if you are selling SEO for marketing agencies, do they consider themselves as digital entrepreneurs? Do they consider themselves as online entrepreneurs, or just an entrepreneur, or a business owner, or anything that comes to mind? You can start to mimic them in your copy, in your messaging, and that's how you can resonate with them better. And yeah, I think I went a little bit of a different direction here, but that's the point. If you go to these forums, if you go to YouTube comments or TikTok, in TikTok, you can actually type into the topic of that, and then you will see the top engaged posts, or like it will have like 1.3 million viewers, and then you can see the comments of the people really engaging and screaming the same thing. Wow, you perfectly laid it out there. Wow, this is something that I'm really experiencing right now. Wow, this is something. I'm glad that I can't put it into words, but you perfectly nailed it, how I feel. And that's when that's when you understand these people, what's keeping them at night, what's really painful for them.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask you. Sorry, I'm gonna ask you more on the TikTok research, because that's specifically something I have never done. I have TikTok on my phone, but I don't know how to go about researching. So if you can share more about that, that would be awesome.
Yeah. Well, if you go to TikTok, because as I've mentioned, TikTok is, if you are a coach or someone, you can't really tell that TikTok is already for millennials. It's just for millennials, or it's just for Gen Z. Definitely a huge percentage of them is still on those categories. But you try to look at it, it's almost competing with Facebook, right? It's not like, we can tell that like 5 to 10 years from now, it's going to be like Facebook and then TikTok. It's not going to be Facebook and Google or YouTube anymore. If you go to, because you want to get a feel of how the community is really sharing their ideas and their thoughts, and that's how you can understand them more intimately. Like, so you go into TikTok, you don't go to your For You page. I don't know. I'm not really a TikTok user myself, but it's something that I just do for my research. You go in there, they have a type field there, and then you can type in the topic that is
Mhm.
related to you. For example, productivity or procrastination. Get into the keywords that that is related to your business. For example, if you're a productivity coach, you can type in
Mhm.
procrastination, something like that, and you would see these people. You would see these influencers. The good thing about TikTok is that TikTok is more of, yes, there are a lot of education in TikTok, and there are a lot of influencers too who are just sharing documenting their life. They're just sharing their thoughts, and it just blow up because of the amount of authenticity, the amount of how they share themselves, how they share their stories, their own struggles. They don't it's not like YouTube, like, hey, this is how I made $100,000 in a year, or
Mhm.
how this 17-year-old became a millionaire. It's not like that. It's more of like deeper connection. Like, these influencers show what they feel, and then it would just go viral. You will look at the
Mhm.
numbers. You will have 5 million viewers of this. It went viral. You click on it and you go to the comment section, and that's
Mhm.
where the audience congregates. That's where people are congregating, because you would see this people. For example, you are a productivity coach, for example. You would see these people, what they're actually struggling with. Oh,
Mhm.
I never thought of that. I never thought of it that way, right? Like, oh, you you explain it very, very good, right? I couldn't put it into words. Now you explained it. You explained it perfectly, more clear, right?
Mhm.
So you go to these topics. It's not just TikTok. You can also go to Facebook groups and YouTube. But it's just that. It's
Mhm.
knowing them intimately, what they're streaming, what are they thinking.
Yeah. And it's so interesting that you pointed out. Just to recap, so you were saying for TikTok, I would just put the keyword of,
Mm-hmm.
like if I'm a relationship coach or a productivity, like I would put those keywords in
Mm-hmm.
research and then
Yeah.
look up like the top trending
Mm-hmm.
viral content and just
Mm-hmm.
like check the comment section
Mm-hmm.
and see what people are saying. That's just
Yeah.
essentially
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
the
If
framework
you're
of
in a
it.
relationship, right? Like, if you can type in different keywords. You don't have to necessarily put in
Hmm.
relationships or something like that. You can put in
Hmm.
other keywords that's related, like girlfriend, boyfriend,
Hmm.
wife, husband. Yeah, a
Hmm.
long distance relationship, something like that. It has to be.
Hmm.
You have to make sure that it's aligned with your offer.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's awesome. I love that you share
Mm.
that with the listeners. I think that will be such a valuable, even for me. Honestly, I have never thought of even going on TikTok and just try to audience research there. But I think it's such
Yeah.
a new, great way. And thank you so much for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I think one of the elements that I like to add for the targeting, and research phase is
Mm-hmm.
just check your competitors,
Mm.
and this is a free tool that you can access on the Facebook ads library and just to see what they do, see the engagement that they get on their ads, and just like what are they up to, like how they formulate their messaging. Do they get shares? Do they get likes? Right? And this is something that, obviously before we run any campaigns, we would always check like what's going on, and just get some inspiration from that as well. Because if something is already working, you can also add your own twist to it and try to make it work that way. The other tools that I like to sometimes use is the Ad Spy and Big Spy. It's just basically all the ads that has ever been done before. You can literally look up like minimum 1,000 like and the country and the language and the check, in your specific industry, like what has been performing really well. And that's also like a ninja hacky way of like spying and just finding out what has been working as far as, your even the research. It's just shows like the countries that were targeted, demographics, and just the engagement, right? So I think those as well can be useful when
Yeah.
you're researching.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I like that you point that out, because if you understand that these successful entrepreneurs, or these successful people who have already launched ads and have come to that level of success when they get engagement and getting all of these things, you would understand what resonates more, what should be, what worked for them, and then you can kind of like reverse engineer that to your campaigns. Like you don't have to always reinvent the wheel. A lot of times people are looking for that one shiny object that would, boost their campaign, boost their conversions and all of that, boost their engagements. But it's just looking at what's out there, what's currently working. You don't specifically need to copy that. You just need an inspiration for what's already working. Right?
Exactly. And it sometimes is just an inspiration, right? And even some of the audits that I was doing before, sometimes clients were like, okay, so the reason why I did my ad this way, because I saw my competitor was doing it and it was working for them. So they did their own twist, right? So it's actually something that, if you're not aware that you are able to check, your competitors' ads that are running real time for free, actually, I think that would be like such a competitive advantage to have if you just did those prep work, right? Not just the audience research, but like all of the research that comes with launching a campaign. So that happens.
Awesome. Yeah.
All right. I think we can move on to the second mistake that we see in the coaching industry that could really make or break some of the ad success of the campaigns. And that's like the messaging part. Like, how do I actually craft messages that are working? And I think I love that you suggested, Carla, we start from the research process, because without that, I don't know how the hell would we be writing ads, right? Like without knowing them, that will be really fucking hard actually to nail the messaging. But one of the techniques, first of all, messaging is crucial, because I think you can, Carl, agree with me, because then we can really, first of all, get that effect that you talked about of like, hey, that's me. Like you literally just described me. And also filter, right? So I think the filtering effect of the messaging is so important. If I was to like launch a real estate ad and I said, hey, attention, real estate agents in Calabasas, Los Angeles, then I already know that I'm talking to that specific group of people, right? So it does have a filtering effect. I don't know if you agree with me on that.
Yeah, I definitely agree on that.
Yeah.
And for me, messaging is also something that you can take advantage and leverage in terms of how you can differentiate yourself from the others, right? So you might have competitors who are targeting the same audience, targeting the same demographics and psychographics. But if you know how to differentiate yourself in the way you talk, the way you write your copies and all that, how you, say you're into a relationship, how you resonate with these audiences, that you're targeting for. That's something that can actually give a difference to what you're offering versus with what your competitors.
Everyone else is out there. Yeah. And I think this industry, especially in the coaching industry, and maybe correct me if I'm mistaken here, but everyone wants high ticket clients, like premium clients, and 8 figures, 6 figures, 7 figures. Like this is legit what I see. Like how to get like premium offers, premium clients, and like 6 figure, 7 figure, whatever figure. I feel like that's like the 3 main things that I see, like the coaches use to promote themselves, or I don't know, like even us marketers, like that's what we see. And that's just like not a way to differentiate yourself, because that's just such an overused, angle. I think that's for me, when I see ads like that, I'm like, meh, I don't even care. Well, for me, the number one technique that I like to also I teach to my clients, and you might be, Carl, you might not even heard of this one, but I call this the Amazon School of Marketing. And this is like from a copywriting standpoint, because obviously copywriting is the way to sell with words. And, of course, if you're talking about a coach, it's not necessarily nailing copywriting right away. But a cool thing to do in this aspect is to go on Amazon and just check the top 100 books on your topic and just check the titles and what they how they are structured and also the description of the book because those things are usually written by expert copywriters
Yeah.
and like those titles I usually use them in headlines. So what I like to do I like to get the first 100 headlines
Mhm.
on a specific topic that I'm going to be advertising on, just on an Excel sheet, just collecting all of them, and then get the description as well. Like how do they sell the book? How do they angle? What do they say to sell? And I think this is like if you are very much at the beginning and you really need some inspiration on how do I word this, like I think that's like my go-to way to still to this day to start out with when I'm constructing the copy. Obviously, I'm looking at my research of like everything that I piled on, but
Yeah.
just like those headlines, sometimes those headlines can be such a great way to sell, your own ads as well, and just using on my headline. So that's my
It's,
go-to way.
yeah, it's very crucial to nail the headline. It's headline is more of like a paradigm principle when it comes to your offer. If you don't nail the headline, like the whole campaign or the whole offer will tank. It's more of like 20% of your 20% of how you do it in the headline will really produce your conversion rates up to 80%.
Yeah.
So it's really an important factor to get that. And I like that you are getting your inspirations from these successful books on Amazon. Me personally, I look at magazines.
Oh
Women
wow.
magazine. Really, if you try to look at it, do you know that even the copywriters, they don't the highest paid copywriters are not the ones in Nike or Apple or Adidas.
Hmm.
They're the ones who are in the magazines, right?
Yeah.
They're the ones in the magazines. They're really top paid. There's a reason why business or companies are paying copywriters with 6 figures, 7 figures just to write their stuff. It's because if they don't nail that messaging part, then like the whole campaign is just gonna tank on its own.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love that you said about the magazines because they literally are there to sell the magazine itself. So like those headlines that we see on the cover,
Mm-hmm.
like those are made so that you buy the magazine, right? And it's not
Yeah.
the photo that you buy the magazine for. It's just those headlines, like X amount of ways to get your summer body, like whatever,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and those are the things that are made like print magazine that we're talking about that
Mm-hmm.
actually sell it. So I think that was a great example that you gave there for the
Awesome.
people to take and hopefully apply. And just like you said, like the copywriting industry is actually it's yeah, they paid quite high to sell because this is not something that you can just nail out of the get-go. That's why I said, the Amazon type of direction, the magazines, like those are directions that you can get inspired by and obviously doing your research right. But the whole thing, the complexity of that is actually, take some time testing for sure to get it right. So that's why you might need to hire someone who actually knows how to write if you don't want to be bothered with that.
Yeah.
There's one more thing I want to add here before we move into the third mistake. I was actually running a campaign in which we were talking about, again, we're selling this workshop for like relationships and target audience was around their 30s. They had one kid. And as I was talking to other, people, moms doing my research, what I found is that it's a big problem that a lot of dads are not participating in changing diapers. And the reason that I was crafting the ad, I was saying, this is how a reconnected relationship looks like. Daddy changes diaper without you having to ask. And I was like adding like a lot of like other reasons that, that I know that these women desire. And I remember when someone joined in, they would literally say, I want to know how to get my man to change diapers. Like, help me. That's why I want to come. So that was like such a good feedback on, when the research is done right and someone literally is joining the workshop, the program, whatever that was at the time, because they were like, yeah, that's what I want. I want him to do that. Like, so that's like a good feedback for us that we did our research right. Let's move on to the third mistake. And I think, Carl, you're going to cover this one.
Yeah. This is what I think is the most crucial part. I mean, not the most crucial part, because I think the most crucial part is nailing your audience. But this is what's make the sale, right? It's the offer. And so a lot of people, I think we should test match with this one, so I can have your opinions there about this. But they tend to make the mistake of really sounding vague with their offer, right? Like, it's not that they always tend to sell their product in their offers. Like, this is 100% cotton. This is 100%, made from the US or something like that. Which is kind of vague for me, which doesn't really sell. If you look at your target audience, what are they actually craving for? And you need to get that outcome. Picture out that outcome for them. For example, if you're a productivity coach and you're selling something, or just selling your productivity program, because I have a lot of these people pitching me about productivity, and then their offer would go something like, I'm going to 10x your productivity and shape your mind so you can attain your fullest potential, right? So it's kind of like, well, why would I give you $1,500 for increasing my productivity? Like, I know how productivity works. I know that I know how I suffer from procrastination, but it takes to read some Atomic Habits. I can just grab an Atomic Habits book or some books that can literally help me, right? So why would I, instead of offering something like, if you feel procrastinating, I'll be your holding hand to achieve your goals for the next 3 months, right? So they need something like, I've suffered from procrastinations for a long time, but you pitching to me that you're 10x my productivity is something vague that I'm not really convinced about it. Like, I can do it by myself. I know the problem is me. I think that you're gonna sell me this mindset shift of motivating me every day, but I don't see the value for it. But if you tell it into something that I'll be your holding hand through the process, and let's get straight to your goal, because at the end of the day, procrastination is something that it's the least of my concern. My concern right now is to actually achieve my goals for the next 3 months. So you would actually picture out the outcome and then sell it to them as if you're just talking to them, as if you're just, imagine if you can have this, and then, your product as the vehicle, pitch it to them, and that's going to make them more interesting.
Yeah. I love that you say that, because I think I created a post about this a while ago when I was listing out things that people are not going to pay for. And I think it was like people selling purpose, happiness, alignment, like vague shit, right? Like, oh, if you want to know, discover your purpose, like what, there's literally nothing that I can materially stand behind that vague offer. There's nothing I can hold on to, or that, oh, discover this is going to, happiness, embody, or get aligned. And I don't feel like I'm going to pay for alignment, or I'm going to pay for, like, what exactly am I fucking paying for? Like, if this is so, like, there's no, I don't know how, like, some people, and especially I think coaches, are super guilty of that they're trying to sell that after working together, that's how you're gonna feel, like, okay, alignment, like, how the fuck do I define that emotion? I don't even know, like, how do I get money behind that? It's really hard, I think, just for people to, like, okay, but what does that look like? What exactly? Just like you said, like, if you're gonna hold my hand, great. Like, at least I know that there's gonna be accountability, and that's something I can stand behind. But I cannot stand behind vagueness. And I think, I don't want to bash coaches here, but there's an assumption, I think, that somehow that people are gullible, and that's a huge mistake. That you think that people are stupid, and then they buy into some gullible vagueness that they're not. Like people are actually smart. They are able to spend
Yeah.
money on what they want, and they're not gonna buy into vagueness and
Yeah.
just this it's magical word of the industry that we throw around left and right. Purpose, like, yeah, I can Google that. If I can Google the solution, and
Yeah.
how do I find my purpose? Oh, YouTube video.
Mhm.
There, 100 million thousands books, and yeah, I can find that in 5 seconds. Why would I be paying for that, right?
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
that should be like, this is something you can't Google, or it would take you really hard to gather all the information. Then it's a good offer in my case,
Yeah.
right? It's not
Yeah,
something
just-
I can just get it from the internet.
Yeah. It's just thinking of that. So many things that you can find on Google. So many things that you can find on YouTube. If you are a coach or you have a course, there's so many things that you can find on YouTube. What will I get from this offer of yours? That's something that I can get on Google, on YouTube, because I can basically watch it. So Mel Robbins is there, for crying out loud. Tony Robbins is there. Thousands of their videos. Gary Vaynerchuk is there, right? So I can watch my motivational videos on YouTube and get me productive and get me motivational throughout the day. But what are you actually offering me? Because if really it comes down again to knowing your customers intimately, knowing your potential audience intimately, and know what their problem is. Because if they are in that stage of awareness of their problem, like they know that they're procrastinating, they know that there's this YouTube that they watch all day, Gary Vaynerchuk, I'm gonna hustle that, but they're still not getting to where they want to, right? What can you offer? If you include that I'm your holding hand along the process, that's when the game changed. Because listen, you may have the best product, right? You crafted this product, you crafted this solution to a problem, but if you don't know how to present it, right? They made. I don't know who's that influencer who said it, but if you're going to give me a vegetable, but I don't want the vegetable, but I know that I need a vegetable, right? I think I'm not going to get it. I'm not going to eat it, right? But I know that I need the vegetable, right? But if you're going to wrap it with ham, right, and then you give it to me, I look a dog who's gonna, grab it and put it in my mouth and really digest it in just 3 seconds. So it's basically just knowing what they really want instead of getting to know what they need. You might have what they need. You have the vehicle of what they need along the process, but you need to be able to understand what they want. And then after that, you can transition of, hey, this is what you want and this is what you need to get it done. And I'll walk you through the process step by step. I'm going to be your holding hand. We're going to have a coaching call about this. And I'm also going to track or measure your progress every day. Every week or every month, those kind of offers.
Yeah. And I love that you said that, because with the bacon example, that was a great example. But it is that simple, and it's not simple because, a lot of times, and that's the reason why, right now I think we're shifting towards pre-selling programs. Like, coaches are pre-selling, like you don't have a done deal, like a course or anything, but they're pre-selling to see if there's a response for that specific course or specific program. Because a lot of the times you think that you have the most magical idea and there's a need for that, but then you already built a whole program, you spend hours on end on constructing that, and then you realize that, oh, no one fucking want to buy it. And then that's why, we are moving towards, okay, so instead of trying to push that down people's throat and like trying new angle and like marketing messaging, like we want to really validate what they want. And if you haven't not done this before, if you've never done your ads, like you kind of don't know what works before you actually start testing and say, okay, offer number 1, number 2, number 3, right? and then just like trying to see what is the situation there, just to get that feedback from that audience.
Yeah, that's awesome. And when you try to look at your competitors, when you try to look at some of the coaches or course creators that might be selling their own products, and you see them working, you already know that your service, your product is actually viable, right? Now you just need to discover how you're going to sell it in a way that is different and putting your personality on it. And that's how you can separate yourself from the market itself.
Yeah. I think that was super helpful that you were sharing with us, Carl. And I'm so happy that you came in this mini discussion for us today. Again, I think we should do more of these and just like get different subjects and different takes on the Facebook ad industry. There's so much more to cover. But I think hopefully for those that are listening, if you are in the coaching and you're considering ads, hopefully this was somewhat an eye-opening conversation for you to listen to. Well, thank you so much, Cara, for being here.
Thank you so much, Dom.